Hello, everybody, and welcome to How I Shoot, the show where we talk about your film production projects shot with Kinefinity cameras. I have with me today the highly talented cinematographer Ben Cotton. Hi, Ben. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Sorry, I got
Hi.
a noisy baby on the floor. She's
Hi, that's
much
okay.
about
Thanks
it.
for an interesting interview. Hi, Ben. Tell us briefly a bit about yourself. What is your professional background? How did you get to filmmaking?
Yeah, my background, I think I started filming in like 2009 when I got my first camera, Canon 5D Mark III. And, I just started filming and that was it. And then I just never stopped filming. And now I'm just doing it full time and, that's it.
So first I want to talk about this project, Ungdomar Stedter Sverige. Please give us some background on this project. Like, what was the size of your crew? Over what time period was it shot? And what were some of the difficulties you had to overcome?
Yeah, Ungdom, that wasn't a very big crew on that shoot. The company is a non-profit, so they didn't have a great budget as it was. So going into that, we knew that it wasn't going to be like a regular commercial budget. So the difficulties of that shoot was that we were working with kids, and we had to capture the kids in their own element. So we're doing different sports. So we had to go to where they were playing the sports, and they were just having a regular practice, and they kind of had to perform a little bit, but they were still just doing their regular thing. And we were there with the camera trying to capture a documentary, but also kind of nice. So the difficult parts of that was many locations, many scenes, many different days. So we couldn't shoot everything in one day. And then we also had we didn't have any time for lights or budget for lights. So we had to work with whatever we had in the room. And it worked out okay.
Yeah, I think so too. The lighting situations vary a lot between the different scenes. Somewhere outside, and I presume you used only natural light, somewhere at night, somewhere inside with mixed lighting situations. You just said that it was shot over different days, but in general, how did you deal with these changing situations? Take us through your process to maintain a proper exposure of the camera and different settings and tools you use.
I mean, when it comes to exposure, I don't really know. We just look in the monitor and finding a look we like, and also bearing in mind what the camera is best and what it's capable of doing in the best way. Don't overexpose it, maybe underexpose it a bit more or something like that. I'm just looking at the waveform generally. But I have a monitor that I kind of trust, so I was just looking at that, and I also knew it was going to go to grade, so I wasn't so concerned about matching. We just shot the best we could. We exposed the images the way that you should, I guess, and then we knew it would go to grade, and they would do the rest.
All right. Next, let's talk about the project with Lummox featuring Moana Pirouette. So you write there it was shot on Kowa anamorphics. Which one exactly? And tell us the reason of the choice for these lenses and how did it work out in the end?
Yeah, that project Lummox, that was really fun. That was with Sony Music. Sometimes they throw you a curveball last minute. So we didn't have a lot of prep time on that one, but I knew the director loved anamorphic. And we had summer budget, so we thought, all right, let's go for some anamorphics and what would be nice to go for. And we knew we wanted to use a gimbal as well, so we couldn't go anything too large. We wouldn't be able to balance the gimbal, so we went with the Cobras. And I think we just basically used the 40mm the whole time. The reason we used those ones, first of all, they weren't so much money to rent, and second of all, they had a really nice character. When they flared, it was really nice. It was really classic. So. I don't know, the anamorphic gives you so much. It just gives you so much. You can have a pretty boring image, but if you have anamorphics, you just get some nice flares and get some depth, and suddenly it's a pretty good image. What lenses were they? They're the rehoused Cobras, so I mean, just like the Cobra Evos, I think the ×2 anamorphics. They're nice. They're sharp, wide open, so that's kind of good. Most anamorphics don't seem to be, so it was good lenses.
So you were one of the very early adopters of the Marvo LF. Please tell us about your choice back then when you initially purchased that camera, and how long did it take you to get used to it, and what kind of reactions did you get from your peers?
Yeah. Good question. I seem to be a bit of like an early adopter to things. I didn't think about it, but I have a lot of strange gear, I guess, things that are non-branded, and I don't mind that because often non-branded stuff has a unique quality that the branded gear does not have, or you get something for a much better price just because you're not worried about the name so much. I wanted to try buying a different camera. I had the FS7 for years, And that was a really good camera for what I was doing. But now I was like, I want something a little bit better, something with a nicer image, a little bit more flexible. And generally, just rent. I thought I'd just try buying a camera, give it a year, see if it worked out for me. I was looking at different cameras, what was available. Everything was really expensive. Some of my friends were shooting on Red, and they look really good. The cameras are really nice. But I just didn't like the cost that was associated with it. I didn't like how much money I had to pay for media and all the accessories. So you buy a brain for whatever, but then you need all the accessories. Oh my gosh, what's that price going up? So I saw the Marvo LF came out, and I was in the Facebook group already, and I saw some really nice footage coming out, and that's what kind of like won me over. And then I also saw some of the dealers, especially from Amsterdam, was really present on the Facebook group, and I was like, oh man, this guy, he knows everything, and he's answering everyone's questions. And that was like a big thing that won me over, was just showing that there's somebody representing in Europe who was really knowledgeable. And I was like, that's a relief. So that's kind of why I went that way, and I thought I'd take a chance.
Okay, so when you first brought this camera to the set, what kind of reactions did you get from your peers in the early days, especially?
The reactions I got from my peers when I brought the camera to the set was, well, they didn't know what it was. First of all, they'd never seen this before. Maybe it's a Red, I don't know. But then when they started seeing the image, they thought it was a pretty good camera, and they didn't mind it. They didn't mind working with it either. I think when you start doing nicer and nicer work, I don't think people really care anymore, because as long as you're delivering on the product, it's a camera, you know. At the end of the day, it's just a box, and it's taking in some nice images, and there's so much more behind it, you know, lighting, the composition. That's way more important than what camera it is. But sometimes when I'm traveling around with it, doing different events and different kind of jobs, then I'll start getting different questions about it from some of the younger shooters. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. And have there been any situations where you were either limited by the Marvo LF, or on the contrary, you could do things which you couldn't do with another camera at that time?
Very early on, when I was first shooting with the camera, I found that its low light performance wasn't what it was supposed to be, and that was a bit of an issue at first. But then I got it sent away and repaired, and that went really fast. So I got that back. Then after that, it was really nice. I felt like having that dual native ISO was really good, especially like when I was shooting some of these different like events. You know, you have to work with whatever lighting you got. Just being able to crank it up into 5,000 ISO was like, okay, this is great. You know, this is actually a usable image. Where, you know, we shoot coming from the Sony FS7, I never felt like I could get that kind of gain without some sort of big trade-off in sacrifice of noise or color shift or something like that. So I feel like it's you know, the Marvo just gives you so much, gives you a lot of camera, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. So, you know, a lot of other brands, other cameras, you kind of get locked in. Maybe you can't really go beyond 1600 ISO, and this is it, and you have to bring up more lights, and that's fine for that bigger commercial. But when it's a bit smaller and you don't have that kind of budgets, having the camera just be able to crank up the ISO and go, oh, it's good.
All right. And which codec do you usually use?
You only use ProRes 422 HQ for most things. Sometimes when we're going to be doing a lot of shooting or it's not that important, just ProRes 422 is enough. And just yesterday, funny enough, you know, I don't know when this video is coming out. Previously, I was using ProRes 444 in OpenGate 6K, and that was fun. That was like watching the gigabytes go down like seconds. I did one take, I look over, I'm like, oh, that was 60 gig. Holy crap, what am I going to do? But so I've been trying the different flavors of ProRes, but normally ProRes 422 HQ is enough, and I like it.
All right. Now, for my final question, I would like to know if you had one wish for one additional feature or setting, no matter if it's possible or impossible, in the Marvo LF, what would it be?
Great question. And I had a great answer to this, and then you came out with a new camera. So now I'm like, well, it's kind of answered all my, it's kind of solved all my feature requests. It's a tough one to answer now because I know about the Edge. So, but things that I would have liked to have seen, or, you know, who knows, but I'm gonna see, I guess, was be a little bit better on the audio interface. It's kind of hard to see, and when you were that one-man shooter jobs, you want to have those audio levels a bit more present, a little bit more control over them. The SDIs, I'd love to have like a split it so I could send out a clean image as well, not always having the overlays on. What do you think? But otherwise, it's it's a pretty capable camera. There's not so much you really need to change to it. And I'm not a camera designer, but just some basic, like super basic things, I'd say, like just like the audio interface a little bit better. That side screen, I would love to have that side screen a little bit, give me more information. I would love to see it light up when I push a button, so I know what I'm you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's in the works. It doesn't seem to be overly complicated. No, I think it's so hard for me to answer this now, Michelle, because I know the edge is out. Now I'm like, yeah, there it is. There it is. There's everything I wanted. It's right there. So yeah, take the edge and then apply it to the Marvo. And that's what I wanted.
All right, Ben, that was great. Thank you very much for being with us. And we put some links to Ben's works in the description of this video, so be sure to check that out. And with that, I say thanks for watching and see you next time.
Thank you.